Monday once again. Thanks for showing up today for the live stream. Hope we all had a good weekend. Once again, like I was saying earlier, but it was Mother's Day for us in Canada, and it was a good chance to hang with the family, celebrate mothers. It's pretty cool too because I was out downtown. We'd taken my wife out for like a late brunch type thing, and it's just really cool to see a lot of I guess a lot of unmarried men taking their moms out for lunch or whatnot. I thought that was kind of interesting to see, kind of cool. So yeah, I haven't lost faith in humanity yet. There are still some good people out there. So let's talk about the agenda. Well, I'm just kind of we can observe this thing here. All right, let's see. Agenda wise, what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about obviously IFVGs. No surprise. There was actually a really nice IFVG setup yesterday, continuation with NQ during Asia. And then, of course, we had two NQ longs, one pre-market, one during the actual session. And then I just showed you that lunch long, and we'll talk about that. And then just some acknowledgements. We can go into that. Whereabouts in Canada am I located? Toronto, Barry. Toronto. Which means I'm a Maple Leaf fan. By default. But hey, the Habs are moving pretty good, which is nice to see. And I'm not sure if we got hockey fans out here, but the Sabres and the Habs are playing in the second round, and that's such an OG matchup. It's such a good rivalry between those two teams, at least for when I remember growing up as a kid. So, anyways, nice to see those teams playing. Let's talk about the market. Let's get into it. And you just left TO. Wow. Yeah, it's hard, man. It's hard. I love it here. There's just so much variety of things, and of course, family is all out here, right? So. Okay, so I'm not really liking this anymore, to be honest with you. So I'm going to just get this off. Let's get straight into what we need to talk about. So the first thing we're going to talk about is kind of what the market's doing. And whenever we show up to the market, the first thing we always got to do is look at the news, right? We got to look at the news. Oh, Barry's been in Toronto for 5 years and just left. Where'd you leave to? Sorry, I digress this conversation. I'm just curious. Where'd you leave to, my friend? Better not have been Montreal. Okay, nice. Okay, that's a good move, man. Edmonton's actually pretty cool. I've been out there a couple times. Pretty cool. You know what? I would actually just say to everybody, if you ever get a chance, the Western Canada is amazing. I mean, pretty much anything from Edmonton, even further west. Calgary is amazing. Banff out there in Alberta. But Vancouver to me is just unbelievable. Just to see the mountains out there is just crazy. And I've actually gone, I don't ski, but I've been up to the mountains up there, and the view is just, I've just never seen anything like it before. It's just insane. And I remember a long time ago when I was last up there, and I took that drive to Whistler in BC. I rented a car. It was like a little rinky-dink Hyundai, and I think it was an Accent, if anyone knows about cars. It was a pretty super small car, and I drove myself and my cousins through the mountains, which, I mean, living in Toronto, there's no mountains here, right? So the land's, I wouldn't say it's flat, but it's obviously flatter than Vancouver. But we were driving through the mountains, and it was just insane. I had to keep stopping at these stop points, and it was annoying all my cousins because they're like, "Are you stopping again?" I'm like, "Yeah, you don't understand. We don't have views like this. It's like the computer wallpapers you see or the screensavers. Like that was what it looked like. It was just remarkable. So, anyways, if you ever get a chance, anyone out here to visit Canada, check out the West. 100%. Closer to Jasper. Okay, man. Nice. It is cold up there though in the winter, I will say. Okay, let's get back to the charts though. I digress. I apologize. Oh, that's absolutely amazing there, Alice. Wow. Look at that. Sunset? Yeah, I know you're ahead of us in time, so. Okay, so first thing we always got to do is check for news. Today, a lot of people, what they do is they actually just have the only the red folder checked off. These days, I'm just keeping everything checked off. I just want to see everything. I want to know what we're dealing with. And the Forex Factory news that we see here, these red folders, haven't really been having an impact on the price. It's more of the financial juice news, right? So a lot of these types of, when Trump speak type news, or if someone's being interviewed, or, some sort of bombshell drops regarding the war, these types of things have been really moving the market, right? So if you don't have financial juice up on your screen, you should always have it up there. And as we can see, the news is kind of flipped bearish again, and they're saying that, the ceasefire is weak and it's on life support. I mean, we got some pretty bold bearish statements now coming out of Trump, considering he was so bullish, the other day. Now all of a sudden we have a 360, and I think it's because Iran rejected the offer or whatnot. So we're going to be going back and forth. There's nothing we can do. So knowing that there's no news today, knowing that anything can happen here on Financial Juice, we then move to technicals. And when we look at the technical side of things, let me just do this for a sec. This is what we're dealing with. We're just seeing bullish momentum. And one thing I was saying was, if we're going to keep bullish momentum intact, right, that's fine. I'm going to mark off this H4 here, buy side liquidity level. Now you'll notice right here, this is the 6 to 10 a.m. candlestick, okay? So when we show up to the market, price hasn't swept this, okay? Price is actually below. And if we're looking at, say like a external range liquidity or internal range liquidity, the last known thing we've done is tapped off of an H4 bullish FVG, which means we are supporting more of the bullish price action, right? And the cliche saying, the trend is your friend until the end of the trend. So if I go from the 4-hour to the 50-minute, you'll get a better idea of what I'm going to show you here. So there's that H4 buy side liquidity level, which we're looking at. Right here is 930, this candlestick right here, okay? So when we show up to the market around here, we haven't actually tagged that high, okay? So I just want you to take note of this, which then means if we just look to the left of all this here, all of this right here, you'll notice that we have a 15-minute sweep, okay, of sell side liquidity, okay? And this is now at around 8:45.9. So if we go to the 1 minute now, what's really, really interesting about this is this section right here, okay? Because, and I'll just hit replay to about here. And let's now turn on some indicators, just so we get a better idea of where the daily EQ is. We get a better idea of the setups that were taken. So in this area, which I marked as a 15-minute sell side liquidity level, this is actually working as an hourly. It's actually an hourly level too, right? So you can see here it's an hourly level. And if I go back to the 15, you can actually see that same level is working as the London low. Okay, so the thing I've noticed with pre-market is whenever we get sweeps of like London or Asia highs or lows, or very significant H4 or H1 levels that are very clearly defined, the opportunity to take a IFVG setup in the pre-market is actually not that bad. The thing for me is I'm not going to take it on funded anymore. I'll just take it on eval. just because I don't want to get burned anymore on these setups before the market even opens. I'd rather just wait for a quality setup inside of the kill zone, but it doesn't mean evals are off the table. So this morning, this is what I saw, and it was really simple. Now, I showed you the H4 in terms of kind of the guided bias that we were, coming out of an H4 bullish FVG, haven't tagged the external range liquidity. We have all the reasons to be bullish. And then, of course, here's that 50-minute, which works as an H1 sell-side liquidity level, which works as a London low, and we get that sweep. Now, if I turn on the SMT indicator, you'll notice there's no SMT here. I don't know if there was SMT with YM. Let's just find out. Yeah, there sure was. I mean, it's kind of a nasty... I mean, it's going through candlesticks, but I mean, the indicator's showing it. So I think what we can take from this is that NQ is making lower lows, and it's presumably so that YM is making higher lows, right? Which we can see here, right? So you can see from here to here, right? We have a higher low. If I go back to NQ, we have a lower low, right? So there is SMT with YM, okay? And then we get that classic pattern that I'm looking for, which is a V shape. I'm looking for a price to spike into the level and spike out. So that's called having a strong reaction. And then we want to see good momentum confirming the IFVG. And what does that mean? It just means the least amount of candlesticks possible, right? To form that IFVG setup. So the best case scenario is a BPR, of course, right? But this is really good. So to me, you would place your entry right here. For me, I got in a little bit too late, unfortunately. I had actually missed it. And then in terms of stop loss placement, this is where things get subjective, right? Like, we know the concepts of, putting your stop loss at the swing low, for example, pretty common, right? But what I will tell you when it comes to IFVG setups is you actually want to have a tighter stop loss. Now, I'm not saying have it like right here, but I would look at kind of the market structure leading up to it. So like in this situation, we have a breaker block right here, right? These two candlesticks, 845 and 846. Tracy, what's up? I amusement, how many candles are good for reversal and close above the IFVG? It's a subjective thing, man. You have to look at the strength, because I've taken IFVG trades where there's tons of consolidation and my IFVG is sitting up here, and once it breaks through, I'm good. I would just say to you, the least amount of candlesticks as possible, and look at those candlesticks in terms of what they look like. Like, do they represent some sort of strength, right? Because if they don't, then the follow-through might not be so good. But there's no real mechanical process of saying, only enter an IFVG if, it confirms with 2 candlesticks or 3 candlesticks. Like, I wouldn't look at it that way. But when I looked at this, I mean, there's the close. It looks pretty good to me. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4 bullish candlesticks in a row. To me, I thought this was perfect. You got SMT with YM. You're sweeping London low, which is working as a 50-minute sell-side liquidity level, as well as an hourly sell-side liquidity level. To me, it's great. And you're targeting that daily EQ, right? So when we're looking at the stop loss, there's a couple ways to go about it. Like I said, I'll just go back to this. The first way is just playing it completely safe. You're measuring out your stop loss to the low, and then you'd be looking for liquidity up top. Sometimes that by doing that, though, you might not get the actual 1R, right? It might be less than that. So what you'll want to do is then look at the market structure. So like I was saying, there's a breaker block here, right? Maybe just put the stop loss right below the breaker block, right? So instead of it being a 27.5 point stop loss, you've now cut that almost in half to 16.5, right? And what that does now is it makes my drawn liquidity target move from being like a 1R trade to, say, being a 1.56R trade, right? Now, I'm not saying you want to take TP at 156. I'm just saying the possibility and just showing you kind of how it just expands the possibility for more profit. Now, for me, this was the drawn liquidity. I did mention my entry was pretty bad. I got in somewhere around here, and then I didn't even bother adding to the position. I think I kind of entered a little bit too quickly. I I entered too quickly here instead of just maybe having some patience, because like I said, I caught the entry too late. So if I had caught that entry on time, I 100% would have been exiting on this candlestick, right? Would have got me that 1R. As everyone knows, that's what I do. I look for 1R with these types of setups. And this was my target, right? But because I had entered way up here, this is not 1R for me. This is like 0.5R, right? 1R is like this. So I was waiting for price action to sweep into this area, and you can see right here, once it tags the daily EQ, that's the TP, right? So it still worked out. I mean, even if you don't get 1R, the idea is to stick to your plan and stick to where the draws on liquidity are. So if I know this is the draw on liquidity for my play on this setup, why would I think, oh, I'm going to wait for price to sweep all of these highs up here? Because anything can happen. It's pre-market, right? So all it says, the double highs convinced me to take this on eval with the trade. So that's also known as equal highs. Yeah, I mean, we know there's liquidity up here, right? And that's the thing, it's always important to have a very clear draw on liquidity before you even take the setup. Because if you can't find a good draw on liquidity for price to reach to, then what does it have to reach to? What's up, Mr. Spaghetti? You're good, man. You're good. We were just wrapping to start, so don't worry, no stress. All I really showed was just the H4 being bullish, and then I showed the 50-minute working as a London low, working as an hourly low. We talked about SMT with YM. We have actually a unicorn setup here too, believe it or not, right? There was the breaker block. This setup that I took today, this morning, which a lot of people I think also took, was the IFVG setup. So you can see, it's a textbook play. I find when we get these overnight sessions sweeps in pre-market, I mean, if you can align SMT with it and it's on the right side of premium and discount, you got to go for it. Like, I really think you got to go for it. It's worth it. So that was the first setup. And like I said, there is a breaker block here. Let me turn off the IFVG indicator for a sec. So you have a breaker block here, and your unicorn is confirmed. There's a little small FVG here, and then you get more of like an imbalance up here. So, I mean, regardless, there is the unicorn confirmed here. Now, the thing with this setup is the unicorn confirms well before 9:30, and then let's go to 9:30. So here is 9:29. So if you took a chance of entering this before, like if you're trading it as a unicorn and you took the entry before 9:30, then you are very lucky. Now I want to show you one other thing. We're going to mark this before I hit play, okay? So we know we have the H4 here, which is also our Asia high. I thought this was really cool, okay? So we all know the market blew up, right, at open, but I just want to show you this. I love using standard deviations. I learned this from Matt many, well, I wouldn't say many years ago. I would say many months ago, but a couple years ago. Let's just hit play. So here's 9:30, massive expansion, move higher. Now we're tagging above -1. And then we move into the -2, -2.5 on the next minute candlestick. So in 2 minutes, we have literally moved 100 points at open. Okay, someone was making a joke about, I think it was Alice, but he was saying, there's a new strategy which is just market long at open, and you'll guaranteed get a win because the market's just so bullish. But here's -2, -2.5. Here's Asia, and I want you to keep an eye on this -4 here, okay? Right there. It just misses tagging it, which is fine, but the fact that it came so close to it to me, I always find, and then of course it rejects, I just find it absolutely amazing. If you look at the RR factor on this, now let's just say you have the stop loss at the low here, right? Like, let's just say that's your position. Here's 2R. Here's about 3R. And then, of course, this would be closer to 4R, right? Not bad. Not bad. Not a bad move at all. So that was NQ, and that was the pre-market into the open. We got a unicorn there. We have a IFVG there, and then price just literally starts sweeping. Okay. So what's the next play here? Well, yeah, not bad to hold longs and just chance it. Yeah, 100%. So just go back here. I just want to double check where price is sitting. Sorry, bear with me for 2 seconds. Yeah, it's really trying to reclaim that. And I still have that level marked here too. Wow. Let's go back to the 2. Have it on the 2 or the 1? It's probably the 1 minute. Okay, we'll come back to that in a sec. So the second setup was coming off of the daily EQ. Now, when price is just sweeping liquidity and pushing higher, there's not much you can do as a reversal trader because I was still going to look for a short up here because it's Asia high, but the thing I'll show you guys is that when you look at these imbalances, this is what I would say is non-singular, right? Like you don't want to enter any closure below any of these FVGs because you don't know if price is going to reverse from any one of these. So there was a better play at hand, in my opinion, a more safer approach, and the approach was to wait for price to hit the daily EQ and then observe what happens at the daily EQ. So let's just see where we are. So okay. So this is a really good example of where you can see right here, price just misses sweeping the daily EQ and goes up higher. And you can see that there's an FVG here, right? Now, a lot of people front run. And this is a great example to show you why you should not front run until price starts confirming above the FVG. And in terms of the idea of front running the daily EQ. Now, me personally, I am not a big fan of entering NQ prematurely on these daily EQ setups unless I see like ES sweep the daily EQ at the same time, but create some sort of SMT. That's different. That was clearly not the case today because ES was way up here, right? Whereas if NQ was way down here. So there is a difference in terms of their positioning. So I don't want to be front running an entry here. I want that sweep to happen because it gives me the confirmation. So, and then of course I'm not, just because I see this happen, I'm not going to enter here even though the price hasn't closed above the IFVG, right? Or the FVG, which would confirm into an IFVG. Because if you did, you're going to get a stop loss, right? So that's like, if you have FOMO, you're going to get punished. Okay, so I'm waiting for the daily EQ to get hit. So it comes back down again. Perfect. Okay, now we are talking. Now we are looking for a setup. And I'm just going to close that off. Okay, because I want to see if, I think it was on ES. So we get one of these happening. There is the SMT now forming at the daily EQ. And you can start to see, I use the Anch indicator, fair value gap by Anch. I highly recommend you guys to just put in some FVG indicator on your chart because it's the difference between missing out on FVGs and basically having them literally show you where they are, no matter how small they are, they will appear. This is 6.75 points. And let's just hit next. Okay, so right here, we now get some more SMT. And once again, you see this wick here? You don't want to prematurely enter. You want price to start showing acceptance above the FVG. And if you're going to front run this, okay, and I often do front run my entries with a market order, what you want to do is you want to wait for like the last 20 seconds to see what price is doing, okay? Because if you can start seeing acceptance above the IFVG or the soon-to-be confirmed IFVG in the last 10 to 20 seconds, there's a very, very strong chance because of the momentum, it's going to carry price forward. The other option, which most people are doing when they're back testing, is obviously they're waiting for proper closures, right? The problem with this is sometimes this candlestick closes way up here, and you could have market ordered here and you would have already taken TP. That's why we front run. But in this situation, it's a pretty good close, right? So once again, we come back to a couple of major concepts, which we're going to keep repeating itself, right? Because the first one is, what is our higher time frame context? Well, we are trading off the daily EQ. Okay, perfect. Where is our IFVG, and is it sized appropriately? It's right here. It's sized at about, just a little bit under 7 points. So that's good, right? I want to see something above 5 points typically, right? Secondly, are we getting a good reaction from the daily EQ? Now, when we see this type of price action happening here, ideally we want to see a sweep and price V-shaping out of it. We don't want to start seeing acceptance below here, okay? So when price started to accept below here, it really looks like price is, let me just do this. It really looks like it's starting to do an underside rejection, okay? I will still keep this marked though, because anything's possible. If strong momentum confirms the FVG into an IFVG, and that's what this candle was. Boom. So I'm Usman was asking, like, how many candlesticks do you want to see close through the FVG to confirm the IFVG? And I said, look at momentum more so than how many candlesticks, because even though it chopped here, this one candlestick tells you all you need to know that this is a valid IFVG setup. So once this confirms here, we move to the next thing, which is there a draw on liquidity for price to reach to? Because we know if we look to the left, Asia already got taken out. We already have brand new all-time highs. But what this is showing us is we have LR up here, right? We have liquidity up here, and we also have this liquidity right here too, in the shape of an FVG. So if I'm trying to position my trade and I want to take 1R, well, it's really simple, right? The first thing I can do is, like we talked about earlier, I can use the swing point, and then I can take TP here and maybe look for some more TP here. That's one possible way to play this. Another way is to just have your stop loss down here and you want to take all of your position out here at 0.5 or 0.6R. That's another idea. I've seen a lot of people go for the negative RR approach. But for me, what I did was I ended up using this sweeping wick right here as my stop loss. So you see how it's sweeping there? Let me put a dash on this. Okay. So you see how price is sweeping that level, creates the SMT. For me, I just had it here, roughly. I think it was there. And then you would have 1R somewhere around here. The goal is to target this, right? Another option is have it tighter. So what that means is you could probably use this candlestick, right? So something like down here. And what that does now is it tightens up the 1R to be inside of that FVG. So let's hit next. So we get some drawdown, but then we get some really, really nice movement into that area right there. Boom. So I ended up taking TP around here. If we look at what happened next, price sweeps back, takes out liquidity at the entry, which would have presumably taken a lot of people out break even, and then price does this and goes up higher, right, and takes out the LR liquidity. So this is how I put the second setup together. This is exactly the steps I took. I shared everything inside of my daily thread, like I always do, right here. Just go back up higher. Let's see, right here. So if you have not set yourself up with the alerts, if I ever use the @Kira alerts, you're not going to get notified of the setup. Go to Kira alerts over here and just click on the cool little icon here. And that will allow you to receive these alerts. And right here, I set that alert right here. Okay. So I told everybody, hey, I'm going long. I also mentioned I mean, this is the other thing too. Like I'll tell you is like I'm usually going to show you the setup before it happens as it's forming, because I don't know if it's going to confirm or not, and I would rather you kind of, if you're still learning, understand how the setup looks even before it confirms. Like this. This is what it looked like before it confirmed. That way you have a better idea of knowing what to look for once it does confirm. So I will set that alert once the confirmation happens. So if you are following along, you will get these alerts literally when I say, hey, this is confirmed for sure. And usually I'm in the trade. Okay, so right here, this is what my setup actually looked like. So so I thought I had used the sweep here, but it looks like my setup was using that candle that I was talking about as the third approach. And my goal was to take TP inside of that FVG. I didn't really want to hold for higher because I don't know what price is going to do in this pocket. And I don't want it to reverse on me and then go lower and then I have a stop loss. And this comes to the, like combating greed. I don't want to be greedy. Okay, so the other thing too is I took it on eval. I just wasn't so sure as well. I will be honest. I was not feeling sure about it to be unfunded. I should have taken it unfunded now that I look at it, because it was a very classic trade. With the daily EQ. I think it's just I got burned with the daily EQ last week, and I had already taken that pre-market trade. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take it on eval again. And like I said here, my goal is to take TP at the FVG. So I'm literally telling you everything I'm doing, when I'm in a trade and what I'm looking for. And then here you go. Okay. Now, the thing I'll tell you about this setup is I don't know what price is going to do here. It can go higher or it can reject from here and go straight lower. There's no way to tell. I appreciate that. Mr. Spaghetti. And I should have had no fear for sure. I should have taken unfunded. But here's the point I'm trying to get at. I showed you how I put the trade together, like post by post. Even right now as we're communicating this through the video, through Livestream. But I exited where I said I was going to exit. I did not hesitate on my exit. Even though it's on eval, I still treat it like it's a funded. Okay? And I'll come back to this image. Did I exit according to my plan? Right here. So if you are journaling and you're having a hard time writing your thoughts in your journal, for example, like in your notes section, you literally just need to ask yourself these three questions. Like you can mark down things like, is a daily EQ setup, SMT with ES, 6.5 point IFVG size, something like that, right? But you really need to answer these three questions. Did you follow your setup rules? Did you manage your risk accordingly? And did you exit as you wanted to per your plan? I guarantee you, if you keep screwing up and you like blowing accounts or you're taking trades that hit stop loss frequently, if you're asking yourself these three questions and you're being honest with yourself in your journal, I promise you, if you go back and you just start looking at whether you did all of these things, I'm quite positive one of these has not been met. Like you've broken one of these things. You did not, either like you didn't follow your rules or you didn't manage your risk accordingly, meaning you had some panic or FOMO and you didn't exit as you had told yourself you were going to exit, right? At that drawn liquidity that you had marked, because maybe you got greedy or you thought something like, oh, some bullish news dropped about Trump. I better stay in the trade now, right? You let something exterior impact your trade setup, right? So once you start following these three and you start being truthful with yourself and you start noticing you're going to get a win streak, and I promise you it's because you're going to be following all three of these things. Okay? And I only say this because I'm speaking from my own experience. And like facing the truth about things is very, very hard as a trader. And I just want to actually give a quick shout out to Emporio, because Emporio had a huge W, man. I just want to share it here. So Mika actually shared it in the chat, and this has nothing to do with me, okay? Nothing to do with me. I just want to put that out there. It has everything to do with Emporio, because here's a person who spent many years on the wrong side of being successful in trading and stuck with it, persevered, kept at it, and I know I had started a 20 trade challenge for everybody to work with, but if you really think about it, it's all in the people who are doing it themselves, because I'm merely facilitating it and setting up some parameters. It's up to you to adhere to the rules. It's up to you to adhere to your own rules. So I just want to give a shout out to Emporio, because this is exactly what I'm talking about, where you have someone who was probably not following successfully those three things that we were talking about, those questions, and then I think they probably were, and now you have success starting to happen, right? So I know he's listed Ash, myself, and Mika, and you know what? Truth be told, there's a lot of amazing people in this community, truth be told, that are sharing so much information, whether it's backtesting results. I know all this, shout out to you, man. You were sharing a ton of results. Finest has been sharing tons of stuff, and there's a whole lot of other people too. Like, I don't mean to just only name drop a couple people, but there's just the first two that kind of come to my head more recently. And there's so many other people sharing trades and stuff that you can learn from and bounce questions off of, and I'm sure so many people are here willing to help, which is amazing. So we have a really good community here. I just wanted to give a quick shout out there. And we gotta celebrate our wins, and we have to obviously accept our losses, face them, and learn from them. But it's so good to celebrate other people who are winning. I just feel like it humbles you. It shows. I think it just puts you in a more grateful position, and you don't start to think about yourself so much in that ego sense, because this whole business is driven by money, and money can be the root of all evil, as they say. But I think it's so amazing, like I said, to just like celebrate people who are winning, and there's a lot of people winning. So if we just go to even the achievements section, where is it? I don't know why I can't find it. Oh, there it is. So, if we go to the achievement section, there's just a lot of people putting in work and showing what they're doing and why they're winning, right? First ever payouts. Like, it's amazing to see this, but it takes time to get there, and you can't rush it. And that's kind of my point to this. So those are the two setups. Let's just go back to the charts. Those are the two setups today. We talked about the two setups that formed during the morning, and the lunch setup we talked about briefly as well, which failed. I'm going to explain that one to you, because that one I haven't fully gone into. So let's just switch gears. Let's go into the continuation idea of things and understand what that looks like, because I do trade two types of IFVG models now. One is that reversal model, which you just saw examples of. The second is just given that price keeps making new all-time highs, there's no real liquidity for me to work off of, right? As a reversal trader, that means I have to ride the trend. So the way I'm riding the trend is I'm using the stat map to guide me. So I was literally waiting for some sort of direction. Now I just want to share something. You'll notice this candlestick here closes below but tags the manipulation here, whereas these candlesticks don't. Even though it does this and it closes back inside, and then I would usually say, hey, I'm going to be bearish now, I'm looking for price to move lower. Look to the left, use some logic. It's just chop, you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to get caught in this. So how do you stay away from this? Well, you wait for price to bring clarity. Clarity to me meant an hourly close above or an hourly close below, because if it closes above this, and that's the way I'm using the stat map with bias, is I'm looking now for price to expand and reach higher towards this distribution level at 29,596. So let's just look at this candlestick right here. This is the 11 to 12 o'clock candle. So it closes at lunchtime. the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the 15 minute post 12 o'clock. So that's right here. Okay, so that's 12. And all I'm doing is I'm looking for a 15 minute or a higher time frame FVG to work with. Okay, let me just get rid of this for 2 seconds. It's interfering with my IFVG. So right here is a 15 minute FVG. Okay, so in the next candlestick, which is the 12:15 to 12:30 candlestick, price dips into that FVG. Okay, so the second that happened, I'm on the 1 minute observing this. Now, I also shared all of this as well in real time. Okay, I shared all of this in real time. And look, this trade actually did end up working out. I was watching it. I was showing you guys how I was watching it. It looks like it did play out. But let's just talk about the loss, because I think it's important. And I think there's something here in the sense of not trading lunchtime. So if I turn on the indicator, once again, price dips into this level. We have SMT with YM. I think there's also SMT from here to here as well, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was like this. Just double check. Yeah, so that's like 1205 and higher. And that's about 1205. So like this, 1205-ish, somewhere around there, right? So SMT's there, and I'm looking now at the IFVGs, and what I noticed was, just back this up. Okay. So you'll see that there's a super small one here, and then there's a bigger one here, okay? I actually ended up moving to the 2 minute because I wanted to be very, very sure about this. I didn't want to prematurely enter here and then have it roll over and then go here and then go higher. So I just thought, let me wait. So I waited. And then that happens, right? So if I'm on the 1 minute, the way you can kind of front run these 2 minute setups is by using the 1 minute. And the second the 1 minute closes above that level, which is a 2 minute IFVG level, I mean, this could be the end of a 2 minute candlestick, or it could be the end of a 1 minute candlestick, meaning there's still 1 minute left in the 2 minute candlestick. And I think that's what happened here. So I actually entered an eval here. And in terms of stop loss, if you went down here, that's about 28 points. So it's not too bad. You'd have something that looks like this, right? And then ultimately price fails. And that's trading. It's going to happen, right? There's nothing you can do about this. So when that happens, ideally, I don't want to be trading out of this FVG anymore. Typically, that's not what I want to do. Now, you'll notice I was watching it. So you get SMT here at the lows now with ES and YM. You'll see a string of FVGs here. Once again, I like that 2 minute setup in terms of the way the FVGs look. And you can see the difference between something that's clean and something that's not clean, right? Like if we go to the 1 minute, these are really small. There's a whole bunch of them here. There's another one here. There's some spaces, like candlesticks in between the FVGs. We want to find super, super tight and clean FVGs. And in this case, you have back-to-back FVGs or imbalances that we can stack, right? So if we just hit next. And like I said at the top of the session, why did I have these marked and not anything lower is because this is where the 15-minute FVG was. I would like to see it reclaimed. And as we can see right here, this probably would have been a great place to go long. You would have put your stop loss around there, aim for 1R. I don't know if this actually hit TP. Let's find out. So it's actually still hovering around entry. So we could say this is a call out. I don't know if this is going to work out or not, but it is a call out. We did reclaim that level. We can kind of watch and see what happens. I'm not going to actually take it with anything. I'm just going to watch it. There is some SMT forming at the highs that we need to be mindful of. And I'm just going to take a look at ES for a sec, because ES on the other side had a much cleaner move. And now we're starting to get some movement higher. So it's up to you what you want to do. If you want to take it, it's up to you. It's not exactly at the entry. It's starting to move higher, but that's okay. The reason I say it's okay is because remember, my target would be way up here, right? Like you'd be targeting this. That would be like your full potential goal, right? But if I go back to ES, there was a lot of discrepancy between the two, and you can see here, even though ES is closing similar to NQ above that daily manipulation level on the stat map, it hasn't actually tagged into sort of an FVG. Now you'll notice that there is one now right here. So if we're looking at, you know, those continuation type ideas, I wouldn't be surprised if ES were to tag into this level and then move higher. But if it does this, it could pull the price of NQ lower too, right? These are the things that kind of come with the territory, unfortunately. There's nothing you can do about it except just wait and see, or just take your chances. I don't trade ES, I only trade NQ. So for me, I would just literally be looking at this setup, and that would be the play. Now, the other thing I'll tell you is we're inside of the New York PM kill zone now too. We're not in that lunchtime session. So we have that. Now, another thing I'll say too is I would say, you know, in terms of this type of continuation play, I've typically put my stop loss at the low. I'm not going to lie in these setups. But you'll notice while it does give you more protection per se, it also reduces our RR, right? This RR is now 1.64, whereas when I had it around here, it was at almost 3.28, right? So you have to factor that in as to what do you want to do, right? Anyone have any questions? Out of curiosity? You know what? Maybe I will take this trade. Take it for the culture. Actually had logged out of everything. So just bear with me for a sec. I just want to set this up. You know what? I think I'd probably use this low instead, just to tighten up the position. But like I said, what I don't like is the SMT, and I don't like that the 50-minute FVGs here. That would be the only thing I don't like. Barry says, which broker do you use for Canadians? Well, with prop firms, you can use any prop firm, right? So that's what I'm using. I'm using, you know, there's the top 5 prop firms, in my opinion. You got Lucid, you got Take Profit Trader, MFFU, Tradeify, Apex, I guess, is on that list. But one second, I did want to take this setup, so let me market order in here, and let's wish for the best. All right, I'm gonna take it. See how this goes. So my stop loss is basically right here, okay? And I don't know if price is going to go this high, to be honest with you, but given the way this market has been moving, who knows? I mean, is it time for price to exhaust? I have no idea. So just marking off 1R for myself here. I want to see where that is. So 29, 54625. I'm using the MNQ chart, of course. That might be why the price is different. Yeah, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. All it says, what do you think of buy the low, sell the high? You're buying the high. Wish you the best. Because I come from crypto, man. We buy high and we sell higher. That's what we do, man. That's what we do in the crypto side. Like I said, I'm taking this on eval. I'm taking it just because, like, in terms of the textbook style of the setup itself. I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen here. To me, it looks like it had reclaimed the 50-minute FVG. I don't know, did it? Yeah, it did. 50-minute closed back above that level. So I mean, that's pretty good. And you got SMT here too. Mind you, I don't know if this is going to dip lower though. It might, and it's going to, potentially pull this down, like I said earlier. So I don't know. Let's just see what happens. I don't often take live trades. There's too much pressure. I'm not like Matt. I'm not like a seasoned veteran like him or some of these other guys. They literally have ice in their veins. How do I calculate this? Well, I'm using the stat map indicator. So it is a indicator by 2 degrees right here. So you can sub to it if you choose to do so. Go through the link in my bio, and of course it's an affiliate link. So if you do use my link, it helps me out to support, and I would appreciate that. But it basically calculates the open, high, low, close. I have mine set to maximum, so it's just going to look back at everything. And what it does is it starts spitting out averages on, in this case, because these are daily levels, they're going to spit out averages of, these various levels per open, high, low, close, historically speaking. So it's a pretty cool indicator, but like I said, I'm really using it specifically for bias and for trend direction on a continuation idea. And the way I'm also putting that together is I'm using a higher time frame 50-minute FVG, maybe an hourly FVG, aligning it with SMT, and then I'm looking for an IFVG entry function. Now, I will say one thing. You can see that there's a IFVG right here, right? And of course, this would have been a beautiful entry. But my only problem with this is there's no FVG down here. Right? There's no FVG down here. The FVG was up here. So I don't know if price is going to bounce off of the underside of this and reject. Like, it still could. There's no telling what it's going to do. But the fact that I saw that 50-minute close above gave me some hope. And also seeing on the other side that ES has just been going crazy, that maybe there's a chance that this could work, right? Because you do have that happening there. But let's see if the SMT will be broken, because in order for this to break, this is the level right here, NQ just has to break this high, and then the SMT is invalidated. And then if the SMT is invalidated, that's going to support the trade idea. So let's just see what happens. What SMT are you using? I am using this indicator by out of options. Let me see if I can show it here. Yeah, SMT divergences V3 by out of options. I put 2 on my chart only because you can only show one SMT at a time per indicator. Some other indicators can show multiple, but this one only shows one. So I have one for ES and I have the other one for YM. So if I turn that on, you'll see the YM ones turn on. And I only do it because sometimes ES doesn't actually have SMT with NQ, but YM does, right? And I'll still take that trade because NQ is correlated to both of those assets. YM is a little bit more on the fuzzy side, I will say. A little more wacky in terms of the way the price moves in terms of the correlation with NQ, whereas ES is much tighter or cleaner typically. But I use those indicators. I found this one to be the best one I've ever come across. I've tried so many, but this one to me seems like the best one. All it says, by the way, about crypto, I remember a stream when you brought the standard deviation before the crash, and right now BTC is recovering well from that 2 to 2.5 level. Yeah, I don't know what stream that was from, but I'm assuming it was on the retracement leg, right? So where prices kind of retrace from, maybe that's what it was. But I'll be honest with you guys, if you're into crypto, I don't think the pain is over yet. So to me, the pain will be over later this year, and I do think we're going to see BTC drop definitely below 50K. I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if it went into the 40s, and maybe even like some very crazy wicking into the high 30s. I'm not going to lie. I really think it's possible. So if you're looking to buy crypto, my suggestion to you is to not buy now because you're seeing how prices are looking bullish. I would wait until end of the year and then start to move into positions. Yeah, you know, standard deviations, -2 to -2.5, all because of, I learned that all because of Matt. Matt showed us how to do that with the breaker blocks, and I mean, it's fantastic. So, all right, well, we're getting some movement, which is good. Let me just go back to... So the question you have to ask yourself in this type of a play is, are you okay with taking a 1R setup, or do you want to take profit at 1R and then take the rest of the profit up here? Or are you just going to wait to see if it hits the top here? So these are questions as traders we got to ask ourselves, right? Remember, we talked about identifying the draw on liquidity, identifying your target. What is your plan? Will you stick to your plan, right? We talked about that. So figure that out for yourself, however that looks like. Crazy, man. You know, ES is showing much stronger price action by the look of it, but NQ is just behind. I'm quite surprised. But let's see what happens. So 1R is right about here. Okay, so that's 1R. I'm just putting it on my screen so everyone can see it. So it's 29,532, and that's just based off of the idea that, let me mark that. That's just based off the idea of the candle that confirms the IFVG, okay? Just curious, anyone else take it? You can't find the SMT that I mentioned? Okay, one sec. Let's go here. And let me go to the chat real quick. There you go. In the chat. All right, let's go. So this is pretty big stop loss, 77.5. Just want to see the SMT getting validated. That's what I want to see, you know. You're welcome. The other thing I'll tell you about continuation versus reversal setups that I've noticed is the reversal setups play out significantly faster than the these continuation plays. And then, you know, also the size of the position itself. You're welcome. The size of the position itself is also larger, right? Like normally I wouldn't take a reversal trade with a 77-point stop loss. I'm really looking for something under 50 points usually, because that means my TP has to mirror that, right? But this type of trade is different because we're functioning it off of the stat map levels, and we're, you know, our major targets are those levels. So if you're going to take 1R, that's cool. If you're going to take 2R, that's cool. If you're going to just wait to take TP if it hits that higher level or something else, then that's also cool. You know, we should always individually have a plan, like I said earlier, and stick to it. That way you don't have any sort of emotional confusion when price gets to those areas of interest. Does anybody want to talk about anything else? I haven't looked at GC or CL yet, so maybe why don't we do that while this plays itself out. Let's go to GC for a sec. So GC, I was basically looking at GC today, and let me just do this. I basically had a bullish bias today. So here's the 6 to 10 a.m. candlestick. At open, it just flew higher. There's an NWAG here that we mitigated finally. And I was looking for price to go higher. If we go to the 15-minute now, how would we align that? So here is, if you trade it from 9, you'd then be looking for price to get into some sort of a bullish FVG or something like that, right? Or sweep some liquidity. So you can see down here, price starts to move into the bullish FVGs. So let's just mark those out right here. And actually, let's just mark this one out. Actually, it doesn't go this one. So let's do that. And then let's go to the 1 minute. Okay, so we're looking at this right here. So if you had a bullish bias and you're waiting for price to sweep out that liquidity up here, then you would wait for some sort of 50-minute market structure, which once again are these two 50-minute FVGs, which I just stacked into one. And depending on how you want to enter this, if you're looking for a unicorn, for example, like there's no unicorn on this impulse. There is an FVG here. But I'm not sure how good FVGs do with, or IFVGs do with GC, to be honest with you, because I don't trade it. So let's just lean more so towards the unicorn and see if there's something there. So I would probably use, technically this is the breaker block. Technically, which means it's so small, not really going to see anything there. But what I would probably do is just do this and just kind of combine all those. And you can see we haven't got a closure. And then this is why you wait. So this is not really a good unicorn, right? Ideally with unicorns, we want these things to happen very quickly. Similar with the IVG, right? We want momentum, and you want it to happen fast, like within 14 candlesticks or so. Just throwing out kind of a general number. Doesn't mean look for specifically 14 candlesticks, but let's just hit play for a sec. Let me see if any other level got swept. So there was also this right here. And is it the same level? Yeah, it is. Okay, let me get rid of this FVG for a sec. And sometimes there's just no trade, right? Like you might have your bias lined up with your lower time frame market structure, but then when you go to the execution time frame, things just don't look pretty and they just don't add up, right? So if you did want to take this, it's a lot of chop, right? And now here's 12. So to me, there's no trade on GC. There's no trade. It's just too much consolidation. So I wouldn't have taken anything on this personally. Let's check out CL. CL, I think I had a bearish bias today on CL, primarily because of the NWAG. So what I wanted to see was price have some sort of clarity, right? Price was kind of hovering around here in between the NWAG and this H4 FVG. So we need clarity to do anything. So I did have a neutral bias, I think, going into it. But the second price starts to close in here at 10 o'clock, you can now start to flip into more of a bullish bias, because this is technically a bearish POI. What's even more clear than this is if these levels start getting tagged out, right? Then you can really work with something. But let's just check out the 15 minutes, see if anything bullish did align there. So here's 9 o'clock right about here. And on a 15-minute side, we have sweeps occurring here. There's one here. There's one here. We could move to the 1 minute time frame. And you know, the thing with CL too is it's just been so bullish. I was talking to some other people on the premium side about CL, and it's just like, just always look for longs. I know it was jokingly said about NQ, but with CL, longs seem to be a very good play. So if we identify this area here, you can see that we do get a unicorn or some sort of a breaker block here, but then price moves lower, right? And right here is 930, right? This candlestick right here. And then price fails. Then you have this kind of recovery. So I'm not sure how nice this is in terms of the play, but it is still a breaker block. You could have entered here playing off of that breaker block. It's an ugly looking unicorn, but it is still technically a unicorn. Probably put your stop loss down here. And you'd probably be targeting these highs up here, some are up here, but that is 2R. And this is that long idea. So if we just kind of use the 4-hour with the 15-minute, aligning with the 1 minute, there was a setup there. Wasn't pretty, but there was a setup there. And it formed inside of that NWOG, right? So for anyone who's trading CL, I'm not sure if you caught that, but that was there. Let's go back to NQ and let's see where we are at. Oh boy, more chop. I was hoping this thing would have moved up higher by now. Thanks to Trump for the chop. Yeah. Maybe there's some good news coming out. Wishful thinking. Let's see. It looks like looks like somebody from the White House is talking. We can expect more good deals for the U.S. Trump is not in a rush with Iran and has all options on his table. Is that bullish? That's bullish, right? Has to be bullish. Has to be bullish. Come on, man. Let's go. Let's get a TP for the live stream. Honestly. Otherwise, I'm going to have PTSD and I won't be able to take live trades again. Orsh is the new Fed leader. So ES starting to roll over a bit. Let's see ES 15 for a sec. Where was that 15-minute IFVG?